Hey, what's up, troublemakers, and welcome, all you wonderful nerds from NerdSync. We're so glad that you enjoyed the X-Men video we did with Scott and Ron Wasserman, the composer of the X-Men theme song, so much that you came over here and decided to subscribe. So we were talking to Scott even early on back in April when we filmed this, and we'd always planned on releasing more of the actual interview. So these are mostly the songwriting parts of the interview and is largely unedited because Ron's very good on camera. He had some really great stories about writing the X-Men theme song, working for Saban in general. And what started as an interview with Scott and myself interviewing Ron turned into a conversation with all of us. That included myself, Scott, Vince, and even John Carl from Studio 71 and Court Johns, who was running camera and audio for us. So like I said, most of this is unedited, so there's some funny things that happened in the middle of it. We didn't really cut that out, so you can kind of just get to know Ron a little bit better. And we have some more videos that we filmed with Ron, and we can't wait to release those as well. So for right now, enjoy the extended interview with Ron Wasserman, composer of the X-Men animated series theme song.
I can't read it. Roll C, scene 3, take 1.
You're so gentle with that. It's nice. My name's Ron Wasserman. I'm a composer for television. I've been playing piano since I was 3, started writing when I was 5, and then didn't really get a good gig until I was 29 when I started at Saban, and spent 3 years learning how to score as opposed to songwriting, which I'd done for a lot of years. Lucky break. And the phone has rung off the hook ever since, until like a couple months ago, but that's because I blocked calls. And all day I write music. It's a rough life. I mountain bike and write music. And then drink. I drink now and then. I drive a Prius because it's fucking hot.
So LA.
Yeah, there's a certain age you hit. Now that I'm over 30, there's a certain age that you hit where if you're driving a Porsche with a red interior and you're my age, you look like a douche. So I drive a Prius because the cops don't even look at Priuses. Nobody robs you when you're in the Prius because they figure it's not worth it. It's a Prius. And I write music.
On the side. What's your choice of drink?
Blanton's bourbon. I'm a bourbon person. And in a short while, I'll be partaking. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't do it every day. It's just, when I'm not writing music, that's what I do. But I never drink and write. That's not good. All right.
That's the best introduction I've ever heard. We've covered a lot of ground.
Well, other people try to be cool. I'm just honest.
I love it. Yeah, so I think in this particular, we're going to be focusing on the X-Men theme song for this particular video. So how was the story of how you even got that gig? How did that go?
I was writing everything for Saban. So they would have a commercial and say, you need to score it. They say, we have the show Sweet Valley High, you need to write the theme. We have VR Troopers, we need you to help on the theme, but we need you to do the score. And, Haim's friend is having a bar mitzvah, so could you do a version of Go-Go Power Rangers, but put in his kid's name? Oh. So I was working day and night doing everything. And so X-Men came in. This is how Saban ended up with X-Men, from what I understand. I've never been told first person. Haim was really trying to get Power Rangers on Fox and get it to air. They had no interest in the show whatsoever. So he did a deal with Marvel and said, I'll do all the post-production for free if I can get a slot for Power Rangers. So all of a sudden, one day they came in, I went, X-Men! And I don't remember if they had the opening cut. I don't think so. Or they just had some basic animation. And the head of music there, a guy named Ron Kanan, had a band. And he had a bass line in a song he had written that was similar, but it was that fast staccato thing. So he came in and said, if you could incorporate this, that'll be great. And it was a night where I just sat and I took that bass line, sequenced it, started coming up with a melody. But that theme didn't happen quickly because by this time people were getting involved, so there was always a note, and we ended up, I don't know, with 100+ tracks. I think there's 20 tracks of hi-hats on the thing alone because nothing was ever big enough. It needs to be bigger and louder. It was pretty frustrating. I can remember that. But it was there was a lot of hours put into that theme, a lot of hours. But that's how I got it. I was really the only composer there. I kind of took over the place.
Yeah, go for it, man.
So, on a much smaller scale, we write for some film and TV things as well, and we don't often get good context of something because it doesn't exist yet.
Oh, yeah.
And you kind of went into a little bit that it was like a lot of frustrating meetings and versions of the song. Like, what are some examples of like notes you got? Like, what was your context that they did give you for like writing this?
On this,
the
on
song,
X-Men. We need a theme for X-Men.
Were you familiar with the X-Men characters?
No.
The comic books? You
No,
weren't?
no. But my friend that ended up doing all the sound effects on the show, he knew a lot about it. So he would explain. But, you know, even at that time, you don't need to know the depth of the story. They're like, oh, she flies and she can have a storm and he's got this. I mean, it was somewhat obvious, and I did know a little bit about it. But I just thought it was a badass show. Yeah. So, and we couldn't do the rock thing again, so it was more synth-based. And that thing just, the basic, I wish I had like the first and second and third version. It wasn't that far from the final. It just probably wasn't as punchy for whatever reason. When you have too many sounds to mix, things turn into a giant...
And your primary instrument is piano and keyboard?
Yes.
Did you write and record this in keyboard?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would make sense of why it was so damn hard to play.
So what are some of the pros and cons of composing like that, something that epic on a keyboard?
The pros are you get to play every part, and you don't have to deal with other musicians, as opposed to just being...
Can you just circle back on that? Sorry about the train.
It's okay. I was just pausing. The pros, there's only pros. The pros of doing it on keyboard is that you don't have to deal with other musicians because, not that I'm opposed to doing that, but I'd had 15 years prior of being in bands. And it's, as you guys know, really hard to get people to show up, even when you pay them. And then you say, you know, I've always been kind of in control of the band situation. So I would say, well, this is the part that I've written out and I want you to play. And like, well, I have another idea. It's like, don't do that.
So is the arrangement and the orchestration on the final version like your orchestration and arrangement?
Yeah. The only thing that they really got into, as I was saying, was the hi-hats. They're like, we need more of the, and there was just, let's add another hi-hat. Pull up another one. So there's so many freaking hi-hats on this thing. And I'm like, now it sounds like it's going, and we had no gear in the studio. We had a nice board, and I had one compressor. That's he said. Now the board had EQ in it, but that's it. That's it. I would ask for stuff. I'm like, could we get like a backup drive for the computer? No. Like, oh, okay, all right. So anyways, every single MIDI file for everything I ever did was lost right before I left. So everything. Now they were all MIDI files, but yeah, they didn't want to spend $2,500 it was back then for a backup drive for like a 256 gig drive or something, if that big. I don't even know.
They had no idea.
Probably 256 kilobytes. Yeah.
What was the reason to go totally instrumental and not have lyrics in that?
We actually have a ton of people on Twitter asked if there was ever meant to be lyrics in the X-Men.
No, I think because it was going to be animation, it was going to be so heavy sound effects wise, and I do remember distinctly saying there's no good way to sing X-Men. I mean, like before when we were joking on the theme, X-Men, da 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 da, X-Men. You put in the phrase musically, but there was no way. There's no way that you can't. There's nothing I could think of where X-Men would sound. You could go X-Men. You could do like that, or death metal if they would allow death metal. You go, yeah, man. That's fine. We're gonna fuck you up the ass again. That'll work. But as far as a kids show on Fox, nah.
More hi-hat.
More hi-hat.
This is where you should cut to that failed pilot, the X-Men theme song.
Yeah.
That was sung.
Oh, man.
X-Men.
I think it's the same problem when Spider-Man came out and The Edge from U2 did the theme. And I went, this should be really cool. Because I think I might have had a chance to write for it, but then he did it. And then I listened to it and I went, yeah, I would have been the same jam going, Spider-Man, Spider-Man,
That's right.
radioactive Spider-Man. Because what do? You go, Spider-Man! All of a sudden, you know, you're expecting a guy in pink with shooting pink webs out of his wrists,
This is like 90s.
sticking it to shopping malls to go shopping.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's difficult. You got to think about this stuff.
True, man.
It's
These weren't...
It's the same reason I wouldn't go back when I recut all those Power Rangers songs. I wouldn't do White Ranger Tiger Power. They go, why? Because I'm not going to sing anything that has white and power in the same line. Not these days. I won't do it. They're like, but it's about this. I'm like, it says white and power. No. Not going to happen.
Smart choice.
Yeah.
I know that I've seen online, doing a lot of research about this theme song, that Stan Lee was originally going to do some sort of narration for it. I don't know if you were ever a part of that whole.
I was kept so in the dark about everything that I knew the show aired. I didn't even know how well it did because I was on to scoring the next thing. But that would have been really difficult for him to do over all those hi-hats. He would have been going, so what's this ticking in my headphones? Can you guys shut that off? I invented this fucking thing. It's not called hi-hat, man.
X-Men, damn it.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Edge on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Hold for a motorcycle outside.
It's aggressive.
It's idling.
Yeah, I just started it up. Okay.
He's just feeling the vibration through his underwear at the moment, checking a text. It's like, hey, baby, I'm going to be home soon.
Top Gun theme.
My muffler seems a little loose.
Yeah, you gotta turn that choke off.
Drive it off a cliff. Just off there.
Really invested in this motorcycle.
I'm not sure it's a motorcycle.
Yeah, it's probably is it a car. I don't know. Doesn't seem to be.
I think it's slowly going away.
Slowly going
Gotta let it warm up just off the pit.
There you go. Okay. You mentioned the Edge and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
On I guess this theme specifically, but in general, were you influenced by any other like?
Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
Yeah, big.
Were you influenced by any other artists, composers, or like pieces of work?
No, because I've always listened to so many different types of music all the time, and which I love today with Apple Music because it'll run the gamut. It's whatever mood I'm in for at any time, and it's been that way my whole life. I was a huge Pink Floyd fan and a huge Black Sabbath fan and a huge Gershwin fan. So, I mean, no, everything I've ever sat down to write, I've started from scratch. I have no pre-made templates, nothing. It's just whatever happens, happens. And sometimes that doesn't work out.
It's good. Yeah, we have a ton of people on Twitter. I asked them to bring in questions for you specifically, and we had some great ones. My friend Ricky specifically asked, where is it? Oh, he says, how do you write something that starts so epic and ends even more epic?
Hi-hat. Yeah, the hi-hat.
Do you have a-
I guess I'll look through these while we're
Oh yeah,
figure
yeah.
out
Figure out
why
this
this person's
engine
fixing it.
thing.
3, 2, 1, gunshot.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Talking about how cornfields
You can almost hear it say small dick. Every time I hear those rice burners.
Well, I know. Oh yeah, you have one.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, kind of. We had mentioned. Is there anything in the song that you wish more people would notice or talk about, or like
Yeah,
any
because we
Easter
listened
eggs?
to a lot of covers earlier. So like, was there anything that you were specifically looking for to make sure people got right?
The da 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 blah, da da. The part that one guy got, that was really cool. Those little subtle things.
This is just to spite us.
All right, so everybody watching this, if you put on an exhaust system like that, you're not cool. You're a fucking dick. Everybody thinks you're a dick. Girls think you're a dick. Guys will think you're a dick. You're a dick. You want a fast car? Buy a fucking fast car, like a Prius, as we discussed earlier. It's got 3 modes.
That's its own separate video right there, just that.
But really, the exhaust thing, all it says is unemployed, uneducated, small dick, and lonely. What was your friend's question again? It was.
The thing about the small things.
Yeah, it's those little intricacies. It's great when certain musicians are doing a cover and they pick up on those things, because I know every single part, and the slightest change in a guitar rhythm or in any kind of a voicing, it's great when they pick up on it. But people aren't going to. They're listening to the main melody.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, I'll go back and listen to something I haven't heard in 20 years, and I'll go, I never noticed that one little thing way in the background, or all the talking that's going on in the background on some old rock stuff. So now they can be happy about that, I guess. I don't know. Moving on.
Do you have one or? Yeah. So you had mentioned, you talked about this a little bit earlier, but I think we found one interview that you did a while ago, talking about how you may have been given some visuals and kind of wrote the song around like how they already cut it, or was it just visuals?
I honestly can't remember. When I look back at it now, there's no way it could have existed like that, and I would have scored to it. So I'm thinking they probably just showed me some basic footage, and then they ended up cutting to it. It kind of had to be. I mean, even the zoom in for the gong, the bell. There was no bell there originally. That was an executive's idea. It's like, I don't know, maybe we should put in a bell or something there. All right, boss. Put in a gong. How about a gong? A gong, a bell. What the fuck do I care? Fill it.
It ended up being a pretty cool part of the song too.
Yeah, it was a. Yeah, I can't knock it.
So
I can't knock it.
were all the Foley things executive decisions, like the lightning?
No, those are all. When they cut it, they'll hand it to the sound effects guy, and they'll say, "My friend," and they'll just say, "Whatever you see, put in those sound effects."
It's very musical where they lie.
It's a total coincidence because we've worked on shows together. I've never heard what he did, and because he's in a separate room adding the sound effects, I'm over here scoring the show. And the only reason I even know he's working on it is because I go over to see if he wants to go get a drink. Not really. No, go over and say hi, or he'd come over. Other than that, it's just luck that it mixes together so well, because sometimes, again, it doesn't. Although the sound effects are still way too loud, in my opinion. You don't need them with a theme.
Yeah. This is a question that we were all kind of curious about, which is in kind of like TV shows today, there's kind of a bit of a lesser focus on theme songs.
Slightly.
Slightly.
Yeah.
We wanted to kind of, do you have any thoughts about that?
I hate it because I'll never be able to write a theme again for a television show. Because they, like in Nickelodeon, they won't allow the composer to write a theme. They have theme writers, and the theme writers are not allowed to score the show. Just how it is, that's life. But at least they still did a song. But on other shows that I've done, that I've got going, they'll say, we need something between 6 and 12 seconds, and we want it to be memorable. I'm like, then just scream out the name. There's nothing memorable you can do in 5 or 6 seconds. Nothing except nothing. Nothing happens in that short a time. Never ever go, you hear that fucking 5-second theme? You hear that fucking hit song? I've been singing that all day. Doo-doo. That fucking brilliant. Doo-doo. I would never thought of that. Never. So it sucks because you don't have time to establish anything or any emotion. And if Power Rangers or if X-Men was now, you'd hear do-do-do-do-do-do, boom, boom. And that would be it. And now a commercial.
Do you have any tips for songwriters and composers out there that are writing things that are meant to be listened to repeatedly, like the X-Men theme song? I remember as a kid, I never skipped it. It was like my brother and I, that was like our hype moment. And we probably ran around the living room with little capes on and stuff.
Well, first of all, don't write it for kids, write it for adults, if you're doing kids stuff. And if you're writing for adults, you even have to make it simpler because kids are really smart. But just make sure it has a lot of honesty and a lot of energy. And it's hard for me to explain. I was just luckily given this gift of melody.
That was another question, is kind of a watermark of your work, is that you have a lot of melodies happening simultaneously. Like, even people who don't know music very well can sing like any part of the X-Men song or the Power Rangers song.
Right.
And will know what the other person's talking about. Like, is that a conscious decision, or
that just happens? That's a channeling thing. I don't know where it comes from. It always has. So it's not. I have no ego about it. It's my one little gift, and it just comes to me. And I've had times. I was doing a show with Cedric the Entertainer. Be like, so we got a gospel thing, and we're gonna bring on. Fuck you. Ba-da-da-da. Yeah, so he's going to be on, so I want you to write a song for him that's kind of gospel-y. And I just went, so I think, I got it. And I have handheld recorders everywhere because even it's too hard to get to the phone in time when I'm in the studio, and just boom, I just sing out the whole thing, and now comes the horrible, boring part of having to work out the whole track. That's where I wish technology was at. Like I could put that little shitty 8-bit Sony recorder into the computer and go like, don't worry, Ron, I'll do the arrangement for you. But now you got to go searching for sounds. So, yeah, those things just pop into my head really fast.
That's awesome. I want to ask these last two, but I mean, if you have anything else before we get to these.
I think I covered everything.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have 2 final questions on this one. But and the last one's really fun. But the one I want to ask right now is if you have anything that you're working on now that you want to plug and promote to everybody.
I can't plug what I'm working on. I'm working on I think it's going to be it's a pretty substantial video game. And it's my first, I've done video games, but not now. Not since there's unlimited room for the score. So I've been working on that with a guy. And it's really dark, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm very happy about that. And then there was that Shattered Grid Power Rangers thing that came out, and something might happen with that. I don't know yet. And other than that, I've got all sorts of criminal shows. And Thunderman's still another season on Nickelodeon. That was a great show to do.
Fantastic. We'll wait for this guy. We have one last question. Yeah, we like I said, we asked people on Twitter what to ask you, and overwhelmingly, everyone just wanted to say things like, "Thank you for being the soundtrack of my childhood." And so
I love hearing that.
Yeah,
It's creepy. It's creepy because, you go like, oh my gosh, that was your childhood. Your childhood. I feel like I should have a walker. When you hear that, no, it's very flattering. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, that's basically it. We just wanted to know if what's it like to have written music that's impacted so many people growing up?
It's always been an honor to hear from those people. The best part is when somebody, and this still happens, it's probably happened 200-300 times since the 90s, where somebody will write and say, and this was with Fisher as well, somebody will say, my dad was abusing me when I was a kid and I wanted to kill myself, but I would just put on the Rock Adventure, or I would watch one of your shows or whatever, we had videos, and for some reason it gave me the energy to get through to the next day. So, I think that's part of this weird gift, and like I said, with no ego with it, it's for that. That's the best part.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I'm damn glad I'm damn glad it was me.
Oh, fantastic! I think that's a great place to end it right there. Yeah.
We're gonna end it right here. This is a good place to end it. Bye. Subscribe to everything these guys do. Really. Come on.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, fantastic.
Good.
Yeah, I think that's a clear on that, right?
Was this the ADAT days, or was this still like tape?
It was tape, and then we moved to ADAT, which was a disaster.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a reason.
I just remember recording stuff and going, that was a really good take. I'm listening, it's like, do. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. Yeah, those machines were awful. And we had a lot of them.
Oh yeah, walls probably.
Yeah, we were running a lot. I preferred tape.
Tape better.
But they didn't want to, they wanted to move away from tape, understandably.
Man, to go through that time period where editing was literally with your hands, like cutting tape together.
I was never good at that. There were guys that were good. I didn't have to cut tape. I just kept recording until it was right. And I knew I had to stay away from track 1.
Yeah.
So track 2 was always bass, and track 24 was empty, so I had to avoid track 23 because there was all these bleeding.
Yeah.
And then our first console was horrible, so I poured a Coke in it, so they buy me a new one. It was an old Harrison board, and if you turned any of the EQ, it blew the fuses to the speakers immediately.
What? The
Yeah.
grounding issue.
No. The dirty
It was just
pods.
literally the pots
It was just,
disgusting.
this thing had more weed and Coke in it during their early days. It's where they'd mixed it. It was used for mixing porn films also.
No way.
I mean, this thing had a history. And so it wasn't working, and there was a lot of money to the company coming in. And so I just went, oh no! Oh no! And there's nobody here to even look at it until the morning. This Coke is going to sit in here for like 10 hours.
Yeah.
Amazing that 4 cans of Coke ended up on top of
Yeah.
that.
Who would have thunk it?
I mean, if you got to it quick, maybe you could have saved it, but 10 hours of sugar and a board, gone.
It's toast.
I got a new Euphonics console, which
Oh,
I was not.
what?
Yeah. I just go,
24?
how's it work? It was Euphonics Series 1. It was their very first console.
How many tracks? Or is it reel to reel?
No, I think I can't remember, maybe 40, 50 tracks, but everything was digital. You had to punch in every frequency, and there was only one jog dial for it. It was terrible. It was painful. Yeah.
Ron, if there's one
on the topic of storytelling, is there one story that comes to mind in this era of X-Men?
You and me, the Power Rangers.
Yeah, we can do that. That's a question. If there's a story like this Coke story, if there's anything that pops out from your time around that area.
At Savant?
Yeah.
Does it have to be related just to the show, or no?
Yeah, if there's like a time while you're recording. Or
We did bowling with 2-inch tapes one night.
bowling with 2-inch.
Yeah, what we did, we had a long, long hallway between me and the music editors, and their wall was right there. So I would open up old 2-inch tapes because we had a lot of them, and you just grab the very end. Whoops. I'll be back. And you just grab. Whoops. No, sorry. And you would just grab the very end of it and hold onto the tape, and you'd roll it, try and make it all the way down the hall, and make 2 big dents in the wall. And then the reel would be bent, and we were pretty. That was me. That's why I was doing rock.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I think that's the sincerity that came through. I was living like. I had a lot of angst back then. And our microphones were much larger then.
It's funny. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
That's awesome.
Appreciate it.
We'd like to thank all the Patreon supporters on the screen right now, but specifically Dust Dawn's veteran vlogger Lee Ray and NerdSync. If you'd like to learn more about how to support us on Patreon, see the link in the description below and also the Patreon symbol on the screen.